Weitz company has a rich history of supporting key community initiatives.
When they start their internship, we actually ask them, "What do you want to get out of your summer internship that's coming up?"
All right, Mike, I'll start with the intro and then we'll just kind of get into the questions and record as live.
All right, sounds good.
Well, welcome everybody back to the Iowa Business Council's Iowa BizCast web series, where we feature Iowa Business Council members talking a bit more about their business, their location in the state, the projects that they're doing in the state, all about having businesses do good for the state of Iowa. And we are excited to welcome Mike Tousley to the program today, where he is doing really big things, really big projects all throughout the state of Iowa, throughout the Midwest, and throughout the country. So we're excited to get with Mike. Mike started with the Weitz company as a project engineer back in 1980, and he's worked his way up through the various project management roles before being named general manager of the Iowa Commercial Office in 2002. His responsibilities include the planning and management of activities in the Midwest. This encompasses long-term planning, new business acquisitions, safety evaluation, project planning and performance, personnel policies and administration, financial planning, subcontractor relations, and innovation in building methods. That is a lot to do, Mike. And so we're glad that you've taken some time out of your day in light of all of that to spend a little bit of time with us. So welcome to the BizCast, Mike. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Joe. Look forward to it. I was a little bit taken back with your description of all those things that I do, but I do dabble in just about all of that. So it was pretty accurate.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're really pleased that you're with us, and you've been a longtime member of the Iowa Business Council, and so we're appreciative of your leadership there as well. So let's just start off, Mike, a little bit about the Weitz company, its history. I think some people would be surprised to learn that Weitz is the sixth oldest architectural engineering and construction company in America, with its founding dating back to 1855 in Des Moines. You have hundreds of employees and are implementing incredible projects around the country, including all throughout Iowa. So what's your take on how Weitz has navigated the changing times over 170 years, and how have you been so successful in that?
Yeah, Joe, that is, we almost have to pinch ourselves every now and then to think about the fact that our company has been around that long. But I think it's worthy to note a few things just about the company's history, and then I'll touch on why I think we've sort of succeeded for that period of time. But as you said, we started in 1855. Charles Weitz actually started our business here in Des Moines as a cabinet shop. So when I think about that in itself, the fact that our company was founded as a company that built custom cabinets, and to look at where we're at today, it's a pretty remarkable change that we've gone through. We were family owned. Four generations of Weitz family led our business up until 1995. We were employee owned from 1995 through 2012. And then in 2012, we were acquired by an international construction firm called Erascom. So we've seen a little bit of everything. I've seen a little bit of everything. I've experienced all three of those different ownership structures over our history. And then you just think about everything that's happened in this country and in this world since our company was founded. So we've navigated two world wars, a civil war, the Great Depression, the Great Recession. And, I think the thing that really impressed me was after World War One, or during World War One, the Weitz family had no business in Des Moines. I mean, literally everything in the U.S. was focused on supporting the war, and there was no construction business. So they went out and got introduced to the post office of all things, and they were able to sustain the business by building post offices all across the country. And so I think about that, and they were notorious for finding new ways to sort of reinvent our business over time, and there are a lot of examples of that. In the 1970s, they saw the need and the demand for senior living facilities, and so they created a company. It was called Life Care Services. It was a subsidiary of Weitz. Later spun off when the employees bought the Weitz family out of our business. Life Care Services sort of became their own independent company. But as a result of that, Whites actually built the vast majority of those senior living communities. And that's what really led to us establishing a permanent presence in Florida and in Arizona. Um, there have been a couple key acquisitions by the company over the years. We bought a general contractor in Denver, which got our foothold in the Colorado market. And we also acquired an industrial contractor over in Cedar Rapids that sort of launched us into the industrial game. Um, I think more recently, you know, we were sort of on the outside looking in at all of this data center work that was happening right here in central Iowa. And we were really, really persistent in trying to get ourselves in a position where we could have the opportunity to pursue one of those. And we finally got the opportunity and got involved in our first data center here in West Des Moines for it's probably been 5, 6 years ago now. But that has really been a game changer for our business ever since then. Um, and there are countless examples, Joe, that I could share that represent these ideas of reinventing our company. But I think a lot of this boils down to taking a long-term perspective on our industry and our business, being opportunistic when certain things arise. I think one big one is just our own confidence in our ability to build large, technically complex projects. And then I think finally it's, we have been guided by our core values that really came from the Weitz family. And they really serve to demonstrate how we conduct ourselves, with our customers and with each other, quite frankly. So, yeah, I think just the constant reinvention of the company and then the focus items that I just mentioned probably have been the keys to a long-term successful business.
Well, we'll touch on maybe a few portions of those areas in a minute or so. But based on what you've seen, based on your experience, and based, I think, primarily more so on current market conditions, what do the next few years look like for Weitz in Iowa? You're on the front lines of so many different aspects and programs and projects. What do the next few years look like to you?
Yeah, I think the next 3 years actually for us here in Iowa and actually across the company look extremely bright. Um, and I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about, the last couple of years here in central Iowa have not been great to us from a private construction market perspective. There have been, very, very few opportunities out there. And quite frankly, over my history with the company, that's really been our bread and butter. That was the market that we did really, really well. And that sort of, sustained ourselves over a long period of time. And I look back over the last couple of years and I just thank the Lord that we have been able to get into the aviation market and the data center market, not only locally, but nationally. And, without that, I think things would look a lot different for us. But, but because we've been involved in those, there's a couple of recent examples. We're involved in the expansion of the Des Moines Airport, the new terminal. We've got data center projects going on in West Des Moines and in Cedar Rapids. And the outlook for the next few years, I think predominantly on the data center side, but I am also optimistic that the private commercial market will come back in the next year or two. And I think collectively, all those things happen, we are going to be in a really, really good position. So I think the other thing that we're been involved in budgeting and our Q1 forecast, and I just have to pinch myself every now and then that we're headed very quickly to becoming a billion-dollar business in the state of Iowa, and that's something that if you would have asked me that 22 years ago when I took the reins of this business here in Des Moines, I would have said, "There's no way, right? There is no way we will get there." But we are on the cusp of getting there. So our short-term outlook looks really, really positive.
Well, that's incredible. And as you're on the verge of that milestone, think about all the multiplier effects that has, not just for your business and your company, but all the other communities that you're involved with and the people that you employ and the people that you're engaging in every single day. It just goes on and spins out more opportunities, more revenue, more tax base for the communities and the state. So that's just excellent. And so based on that growth, let's talk a little bit about talent. So for the benefit of our viewers, you serve as the chair of the Iowa Business Council Career Ready Workforce Committee. So as you think about the talent landscape in your industry specifically, what are the top areas of talent that you're recruiting for, and what has changed over the last several years from a talent management standpoint?
Yeah, well, Joe, I think there's a couple of different parts of this that I'll touch on. One aspect that really hasn't changed, and then another that has changed pretty dramatically. I think the areas that really haven't changed a lot for us over the last several years has been our focus for identifying, recruiting, and retaining craft workers. And then I will call it just general project management and project superintendent type roles. We have been notoriously consistent in terms of our recruiting efforts for those types of positions for a very, very long time. So that hasn't really changed much. I think the piece that has changed pretty dramatically, and it really is a result of being involved in, I'll call these larger, more technically challenging and complex projects. Projects like the airport and like these data center projects, they require some very specialized positions. So I think about mechanical and electrical scopes of work for those types of projects are enormous. And so what we have found is we need project managers and superintendents that have specific skill sets to be able to oversee the size of those contracts. We also need full-time schedulers. We need full-time quality control individuals. We need full-time commissioning personnel. Commissioning is really the whole startup and energization of all the equipment that's involved in these projects. And then we've got the need to have full-time safety professionals. So I think that the piece that's new for us is how do you go out and identify and attract those specific specialized roles?
Mm-hmm.
And those, there's not a dime a dozen of those individuals out there. You've got to really hunt for them, and that's been a real challenge, but yeah, it's a necessity in these types of projects that we're pursuing these days.
Yeah, it's a competitive market for talent, right? And there's, people can go anywhere.
For
Uh,
sure.
and so, maybe as a follow-up to that, as you're out there competing for talent, how does that recruiting pitch go to a prospective new hire when you're engaging with them at any one of those different positions that you described?
Yeah, well, there's a number of pieces to this pitch. Um, but I would think typically our pitch would include something that touches on the culture within Weitz, where relationships matter. So, case in point, Joe, last year we came up with this idea to do what's called a stay interview, where myself and the rest of my leadership team pretty much divided up all of our full-time employees, and we went out and conducted one-on-one interviews with our current employees. And one of the questions we asked was, what keeps you here?
Hmm.
And by and far, the most common response was the relationships I have with my fellow employees and my teammates.
Mhm.
And so, I think part of our pitch is the fact that this is really a culture where, you know, yes, we're a big company, but I think what people have told us, our employees have told us, is that it feels like we're all part of the same family. And that part of it felt really, really good to us, given the size of our business. So that's one piece of it. I think the other piece is our company has been on a growth trajectory for the last handful of years that's pretty amazing. And what comes with that growth is a significant amount of opportunity for people to come here, not only for the role that you're currently hired for, but there is plenty of additional opportunity and an opportunity for you to grow your career with us long term. I think another piece of it has to do with flexibility. Um, and I don't mean flexibility in terms of work at home versus the office. This flexibility has to do with if you want to work um, for one of our locations where we have an office, that opportunity exists. If you want to work for parts of our business that travel to remote projects, that opportunity also exists. And what we have found is people like that flexibility. They have situations that come up in their lives that say, you know what, I think it would be really cool to go take on this opportunity. I can travel. My kids are out of school. I can take my wife with me. We can go explore a different part of the country that we've always wanted to be a part of. And so I think that flexibility resonates with a lot of people. I think at the end of the day, um, I think people really, really get energized by the technically challenging and complex projects that we find ourselves involved in. It's I just think it's there's a lot of a feeling of employees that say I was a part of this really awesome, complicated project. The sense of pride that they have associated with that is different than, hey, I just built a retail strip center, something that anybody can do. And so I think a combination of those things sort of make up our pitch. It's interesting, Joe. We were in Denver for a leadership meeting here a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about is there like an overarching vision statement that we should be identifying for our company as we chart our future? And there was a lot of discussion about it, and we brought in a couple of project team members from a project in Denver, and we asked the superintendent, had no idea this was coming, but we just said, hey, what what would be your pitch to people to attract them to Weitz? And his response was, uh, we build really cool four-letter word, starts with an S and an H. Okay. And we all kind of sat back and we go, yeah, I think that pretty much nails it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Well, it's very deliberative, right? It's very, it seems like the company and you in particular are very strategic and deliberate about how you're going about recruiting your talent. And I think, as we've talked about a lot in our business council meetings, internships and engaging with educators play an important role in this talent development strategy, talent retention strategy. So how have internships or engaging with students at the high school and college level changed over the years for you? And why are these relationships with our educational partners so important for your long-term talent development strategies?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe, and it's one that's certainly near and dear to our heart, right, in terms of our career ready workforce committee. But from Weitz's standpoint, we've had a formal internship program for over 20 years, and so I think the changes that we have made to our program over that time has really been focused on how do we make this program even better. And that's really based on feedback from the interns that actually go through that program with us. And I think one of the things that, if I think 20 years ago, when we hired interns and we said to a project team, hey, you've got an intern that's going to be joining you for the summer, come up with something for him to do. And it was the most, you know, low level remedial type of stuff that our teams came up with. And what we found fairly quickly was that's not what students are looking for.
Mm.
And so I think one of our major focus areas has been, you know, when they start their internship, we actually ask them, what do you want to get out of your summer internship that's coming up? And then we really try hard to find meaningful work that they can engage in and they can learn from.
Mhm.
And I think that's been probably the biggest change for us is, we've taken the time to put ourselves in their shoes and say, hey, they've got 3 months to gain some level of experience. And, if I were them, what would I want to be a part of? And so we've sort of let that guide our project teams. But I tell you, we've had a tremendous amount of success with our internship programs. We've had countless interns that have returned for multiple summers. And we've had countless number of interns that have come to work for us full time after they got out of school. So it's been a really, really rewarding program for us, a very successful program. And I think that success really starts with relationships that we have built with the schools that we are primarily targeted for in our industry. So here in Iowa, it's the construction management program at UNI, and it's the construction engineering program at Iowa State. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of commitment to engage with those programs, but we've uh, we've supported various classes that are part of the curriculum. We've made presentations to a number of different classes and clubs that are associated with those programs. We've done social outings. Uh, we've served on industry advisory councils, myself, primarily with the construction engineering program at Iowa State. But really, I did think all of that effort that we put in is really all about getting our name out, right? Creating a brand recognition with the students so that when it comes time for them to go look for internships or full-time positions that they they already know a little bit about us. And
Mhm.
so, and in both of those programs, there is way more demand than there is supply. And
Sure.
so I think what we have found is, a little bit of investment on our part to help support those programs, help make them better, um, and constantly bringing students into our company for internships has been a great investment and one that we will not stop anytime soon.
Yeah, you guys are such a great model on that partnership and really using as like a strategic line or throughput to your future workforce. It's not just a hey, we should do this because everybody does it. You guys really take a strategic look at that and then supporting those programs with other things that you do is so hugely important, which kind of leads us into the next set of questions, which I think revolves around philanthropy, community support, things like that. So the Weitz Company has a rich history of supporting key community initiatives, both in Des Moines and in other parts of the state. You mentioned your partnerships with the universities and colleges around the state. What are some of the memorable projects you've been involved in, and why would you say it's so important for companies and corporate leaders to participate in quality of life and community focused projects?
Yeah, Joe, I'm not sure where to start with this one, to be honest with you. You think about 170 years and,
Right.
community focused projects that we've been fortunate to be a part of. The list is really, really long. But I think it starts with, I think back to at least the Weitz family member that I knew, Fred Weitz. And, Fred was very active in the community, not only in the industry, but in the community as at large. And so, I think even leaders between Fred and I have all taken that approach to be actively engaged in the communities. And, it's something as you get to be part of the leadership team here at White's, there's an expectation that you're involved in the community or in the industry at a higher level. So, but I think about several projects, and I think one that comes to mind for me is the Iowa Event Center, which we were a part of, and now the Casey Center and Community Choice Convention Center, the EMC Conference Center, and then the Hilton. Really, sort of to me, all make up this thing called the Iowa Event Center, and it's been remarkable to see how that facility and that asset has enhanced central Iowa and beyond. So we're certainly extremely proud to have been part of all of those components. Another one that comes to mind for me is Des Moines Performing Arts. So not only did White's build the original Civic Center building downtown, but for the last 20 plus years, we've been involved in virtually any size of renovation that has occurred inside and outside of that facility. And just had a remarkable relationship with them over a long period of time. Um, I think another one that sort of fits that same category is Child Serve, a nonprofit that we have done virtually all of their work in the Des Moines area. Just finished up a project for them over in the Beaverdale area for a an adult or a children's daycare for kids that need some sort of development or physical therapy or something like that. So, but again, a great organization, and again, a long-standing relationship with them. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about other examples, but I think the second part of your question, Joe, is why is it so important for companies and leaders to be engaged? Um, I mean, Des Moines is our corporate home, right?
Right.
It's our headquarters. And I think to attract the level of talent that I talked about earlier in terms of all those different positions that we need, um, we need an area that is focused on, creating a strong and vibrant community that offers a wide variety of things to do. And I think we've gotten to the point where it's not just something that we should do; it's something that we have to do. It's like it has become an obligation for us to figure out how we engage and how can we get more people within Weitz to engage in that same thing. Because if we want to sustain and grow our business here, we've got to create a community where people want to be.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is you sure you read a lot of the same stuff I do with the Greater Des Moines Partnership and all these rankings, and it's pretty awesome to me to see the fact that we're ranked really high for young people as a place to be. But then on the flip side of that, it's also becoming a really great place for retirees to be.
Right.
And so
Right.
if you've got both of those ends sort of covered, I think that's a testament to what people have been doing in this community for a long time, and it's certainly paying off.
Absolutely. And, we got to continue to do that, as you mentioned, to sustain that next generation, and the partnership and so many other different organizations are doing an awesome job leading that charge. Want to switch topics a little bit, get into AI. Got to talk about AI and everything that we do now, right? So we've had a lot of conversations on this topic at our board meetings, at the committee level, certainly under your leadership. How is your company, how is Weitz embracing AI, and how are you working with your existing workforce on providing them AI literacy or trainings to make sure that they're engaging in this opportunity?
Yeah, certainly sort of a new frontier for a lot of us. But I think we, as a company, we're well underway in our AI journey. And I think what we have done is we've aligned ourselves with Microsoft's Frontier Firm adoption model.
Mhm.
And and part of that model, they've got like three phases of implementation. And I will tell you, we are really focused on phase one, and we're beginning to dabble into phase two. Um, Phase one is really all about making AI a personal assistant to the individual, and this really is focused on equipping all technology users with a common approved AI tool set and building an AI literacy across our organization. So we've got a number of different tools that we've identified, one of which is Copilot. But then we've got Procore, which is our platform to our construction management platform that we utilize on our projects. They have an AI component to that. Zoom AI and then Box AI are all the sort of the four tools that we're trying to get people comfortable with to help them with their productivity. But really, I think the whole goal of phase one is just to build confidence with people in the technology. Developing some consistent processes that where they can apply that, and then really building trust with that AI platform.
Mhm.
And I think then we start to get into phase two, which is AI as a digital coworker, and this phase really introduces AI into workflow. And so what we've done is we've identified a couple of pilot projects within the company, and we are starting to integrate phase two, specifically focused on certain tasks or certain processes within the construction, industry. And so it remains, we're just getting that started. So we're in the infancy stage of that. And I think the last thing I would say is that we have formed an AI council that sort of sits over the entire company that will provide direction, governance, and facilitation across the entire organization.
Yeah. Yeah, hugely important when you think about all those components that go into it. And I want to string a couple of different things together. You mentioned at the beginning all the work that you have in data center development, data center production in the state. And as we just talked about with AI, there's a lot of energy that goes into that computing center or that computing power, and data centers are at the forefront of that conversation. And as you talked about, you built some of the largest data centers in our state. But I think it's important to combat against some of this populism, some of this rhetoric that has risen up over the last year or two around this subject. You know, according to some of the research that I found recently, data centers in Iowa are supporting thousands of jobs, contribute hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity to our state. Explain, if you could, to our viewers, what makes Iowa so unique in this space, and how do these data centers ultimately benefit the communities that they're located in?
Yeah, Joe, I agree with you. There's a lot of public opinion on this topic, on both sides. But what I can tell you firsthand is, I think you start by saying, why is Iowa and other parts of the Midwest so attractive to these types of projects? And I think a lot of it, especially for Iowa, is a relatively low cost of electricity compared to a lot of other parts of the country. We've got an adequate water supply. Some would argue not enough, but compared to a lot of other states around the country, we have a much more adequate supply than most. And then I think the other piece of it is we've got affordable real estate. Where a lot of these data centers are going is rural Iowa, and the cost of land is relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of other areas. So, I think that's partly what's attracting a lot of these tech companies to come here. Um, and I think, what I've seen, Joe, firsthand, and I don't have all the economic development data to support what I'm going to say, but what I can tell you is from what I've seen, right? And so these projects have a significant boost to local economies. I mean, these projects employ anywhere from 1,500 to 5,000 craft workers on site every day, depending on the size of the project and the number of buildings that are associated with the project. And these projects last anywhere from a year and a half if it's a single build to up to 5 years if there are multiple buildings on site. So when you think about that number of workers, the time frame that's involved in these projects, and I think just from a pure local standpoint, think about all of the product that has to go into these projects that have to come from the location of the project. You think about construction supply houses, hardware stores, things like that. Ready mix suppliers, they're all local. Local sand and aggregate suppliers, equipment vendors, and then it's just, and the list goes on. It goes on and on of all these products and equipment that go into these that you have to source locally to have any chance of success. So, and then you couple that with the rest of the economy, and all of these workers are supporting local businesses during the lifetime of the project. Right. So that's hotels, motels, trailer parks, restaurants, grocery stores, convenience stores, and the list goes on and on and on. They have a significant economic boost for the location in which these projects are going. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the restaurants that are the closest to these job sites, and Lunchtime, you can't even get in the place,
Yeah. Yeah.
and after work, it's the same thing.
Right. Right.
So it's just incredible. And
Yeah.
the grocery stores and the convenience stores, you drive by them and they are just jam packed with people buying stuff for the day or filling up their tanks with gas.
Yeah.
It's mind boggling, the
Yeah.
impact that they're having.
Yeah, and then you think about, the revenue that comes in for the cities and the counties through property tax and other things like that. I mean, it's a long-term investment in the community. It's not just during the creation of the project, which I think sometimes gets lost in the debate.
Yeah, and they're good paying jobs.
Right.
And a lot of those crafts are working a significant amount of overtime. I mean, it's not uncommon for these projects to be working 6 days a week. And when it gets into the heat of the battle, they're running 7 days a week and typically with a night shift.
Wow.
So it's yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully this won't be as intense as the job site, but this is our lightning round, if you will, on some questions that I think a lot of our viewers are interested in. Might be a bit more personal, but I think people are just interested in how corporate leaders get through their day, structure their day, things like that. So if you're up for it, would love to kind of take a couple of minutes in what we have here and ask you some questions. So let's start off with your ideal morning routine. I know you're going all over the place, all different directions, but when do you get into the office and how do you structure your morning in a way that's going to lead to a successful day?
Yeah, this is a really tough question for me because there is the only thing routine about my mornings are I walk my dogs.
Yeah.
So I'm up and out the door walking them at probably 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And that's the only thing, other than maybe showering and all that kind of thing. But that's
Good.
the only thing that's really consistent about my routine because, as you said, I mean, my days are, they're so different from one day to the next that it's really impossible to get into a routine and stick with it.
Mhm. So you touched on so many different trends, topics, community things, industry things. How do you stay informed on all of these areas, and whether it be news or other topics relating to your industry and the community? How do you fit that consumption into your day? How do you feed your need for information on a given day?
Yeah, it goes in spurts, throughout the day. But I typically get some level of dose of Fox News just to keep me informed on what's going on nationally. Um, you know, I I I do the top stories thing in the Des Moines Register, and I get the daily business record. That kind of keeps me informed of what's going on locally. And then I've got a few sort of trusted followers on a couple of the social media platforms that I rely on to give me maybe a little bit different twist on things. But it's
Mhm.
sort of some combination of all of that. And then there's some industry publications that I don't get to those every day, but maybe on a monthly basis try to keep up to date with some of the industry related trends.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, what book are you currently reading, or what have you finished recently that you would recommend to someone?
Yeah, good timing for this. So I was on a little over a week's vacation here about a month ago, and I actually read two books cover to cover on vacation, which I was pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
Completely different ends of the spectrum, though. So one book, and actually both of them, I would highly recommend. The one book that I read was called The Invisible Woman by James Patterson. Uh, Fascinating book. And then the other one was Read Your Mind by Oz Perlman. So
Hmm.
Oz is the mentalist that has done a
Right.
lot of work with the NFL, and but interesting books, both of them. But I would highly recommend them. Good
Yeah.
takeaways.
Yeah. We'll add that to the IBC book club list. Both of those. All right, so we covered books. Is there anything that you're watching on Netflix or Prime or somewhere else that you'd want to recommend that you've enjoyed recently?
Yeah, recently not so much. It's really hard to binge watch at this time of year.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of that come to mind that I truly enjoyed. One was the Lincoln Lawyer. The other one, if you like a thriller, Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Multiple seasons of both of them. But yeah, the minute those two come out, I'm on it.
Yeah. Jack Ryan's a popular pick among your peers on the business council. If you've seen other episodes, that comes up often. Okay, so last two questions, a bit more serious. What's the most important thing a leader can do in today's world, in your opinion, Mike?
The most important thing a leader can do today, I think number one, I would say connect with your people, and make it a habit of connecting with, at least one person every day. And, I mean, they're our biggest asset and ones that we need to, pay attention to. So I think that's first and foremost. I think in today's world, you've got to be nimble. You can't sit and stew on things for too long, otherwise things have passed you by. So advice would be be quick, be methodical, but be nimble, right?
Yep.
And then I think lastly, it's what I have found, and I think with this company, it's staying true to your values.
Mhm.
Don't let the noise of what's going on in the world today influence you to change what's important to you, as a person, as a company. So to me, it's all about staying true to what you believe in and what your values are, and don't let the noise distract you.
Yeah, that's great advice. There's a lot of noise out there right now, for sure. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What makes you optimistic about Iowa's future?
Yeah. So, I really am excited about Iowa's future. I think it starts with the fact that we haven't lost focus on who we are as Iowans.
Mhm.
There's this term out there that we've all heard countless times called Iowa nice. Um, and actually, I'm pretty proud of that, right?
Okay.
And I think it continues to live today. I continue to run into people that say, man, I can't believe how friendly this community is. I mean, we walk by people on the sidewalk and they say good morning. And so I think that's important, right? As a state that we haven't lost focus on who we are and what's important. I mean, the state is healthy, from a financial standpoint. So that feels good in terms of our future. The state's working really hard to make us more competitive from a tax landscape standpoint. Made a lot of progress in the last 5-10 years, and what it sounds like making some more progress here recently with property tax. But I think from most Iowans' perspective, that is certainly a positive trend that we're seeing. And I think lastly, and again, it gets to what we talked about earlier with all the accolades we're getting on a national scale. It's the quality of life that we've got here in the state of Iowa. And from a family perspective, from a young employee perspective, from a retiree perspective, we're offering a quality of life that a lot of people can get behind and feel good about. So I think overall, I'm really excited and optimistic about our future.
That's great. Well said. Mike Tousley, the head of Weitz Company based in Des Moines. Mike, thanks so much for your time today. Thank you so much for your leadership and counsel on the Iowa Business Council. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you, Joe. Enjoyed it.
Very well. Thanks, everybody.